Jalen Carter showed up to Eagles minicamp. Not a holdout, not a no-show, not some contract standoff out of a movie. He walked onto that field like everyone else. June 2026, Philadelphia's practice facility. He ran individual drills. He looked every bit the two-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle the Eagles took 9th overall. And then, every single time the team moved into real team drills, he stepped to the sideline and stayed there. Nobody sent him home. Nobody suspended him. He simply didn't play over and over on the one day the whole roster was required to be there. And when a reporter asked head coach Nick Sirianni why directly on the record, in front of a room full of cameras, Sirianni did not answer the question. Here's exactly what he said, quote, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to get into all those different things." Pushed again, he tried, "Right now, I've been able to work some individual scenarios and individual practices, and everybody's in a little bit different boat right now of where they are in the offseason. And that's where Jalen is right now." Read that again. A head coach was asked twice why his two-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle wasn't practicing with the team, and twice he chose vague, careful language instead of a real answer. That's not an accident. Coaches in the NFL choose their words like lawyers when there's something they'd rather not confirm. Here's the quick translation for anyone who doesn't live and breathe contract talk. What Carter is doing has a specific name in football. It's called a hold-in. A holdout is when a player just doesn't show up at all, the way you'd expect a strike to look. A hold-in is quieter than that. The player reports, he's present. He does the minimum the rules require, but he stops short of the thing the team actually needs from him, which is full participation. It's the football version of showing up to work and doing everything except the one task your boss actually cares about. It's a signal, not a walkout. And it usually means one thing: something isn't settled. If football isn't your sport day to day, here's a comparison that'll land. Think of it like an NBA star sitting out the second night of a back-to-back. He's in the building. He's in uniform. He's not hurt enough to be ruled out entirely. He's just not playing. And everyone in the arena is left guessing exactly why. That's what a hold-in looks like on a football field, except the season hasn't even started yet, and the guessing has 3 days left to run. And right now, with Eagles training camp opening in 3 days on July 28th, there are two very different explanations sitting on the table for what that unsettled thing is. One is a contract, the other is a shoulder. Nobody outside the Eagles building knows which one is true. It could be both. Let's start with the money, because the money changed fast, and it changed recently. Carter is 25 years old. He was the 9th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, straight out of the University of Georgia, where he'd already won 2 national championships back-to-back before he ever put on an Eagles uniform. His rookie contract was 4 years, fully guaranteed, worth just under $22 million total, with a signing bonus north of $12 million. In 2023, for a rookie, that was a strong deal. In the summer of 2026, it is not even close to what a player of his caliber is worth. And here's exactly why. This past summer, a defensive tackle in Tennessee changed the entire market overnight. Titans star Jeffrey Simmons signed a new contract. 3 years, $105.8 million. That works out to $35.3 million a year. And here's the number that matters most. Simmons became the first defensive tackle in NFL history to get $100 million fully guaranteed. Not just promised, guaranteed. $100 million that Jeffrey Simmons is owed no matter what happens to his career from this point forward. Quick translation on why guaranteed is the word that actually matters here. Unlike basketball or baseball, most NFL contracts are not fully guaranteed. Teams can cut a player and walk away from a huge chunk of the money still left on the deal. So when a number gets described as guaranteed in football, that's not just a big contract, that's the closest thing this sport has to a sure thing. $100 million guaranteed dollars means Jeffrey Simmons gets paid that money even if he tears a knee tomorrow and never plays another down. That's the bar Jalen Carter's camp is now measuring against. Now sit with that for a second, because a number like that doesn't just change Jeffrey Simmons' bank account, it resets the entire position. Every general manager in the league who has a Pro Bowl defensive tackle on an old contract just watched the price of that job double. And Jalen Carter isn't just any defensive tackle sitting near the top of that list. He's a two-time Pro Bowler. He made his first Pro Bowl in 2024, becoming the youngest defensive tackle in Eagles franchise history to earn that honor the same season Philadelphia won Super Bowl licks. Then, in 2025, even with shoulder injuries limiting him to just 12 games, he still made a second Pro Bowl. 33 tackles, 3 sacks, 41 total pressures in a season where his own body was working against him. That's not a compiler stat line. That's a Pro Bowl season played through pain. So when Jeffrey Simmons reset the price of the position at $35 million a year and $100 million guaranteed, you can guess what happened inside Carter's camp. Every agent representing a player at that level picked up the phone that same week. Carter is now expected to ask for a deal that matches or beats that $100 million guarantee. For a player who is, right now, still playing on a rookie contract that pays him a fraction of that number. Now here's where this story stops being simple, and this is the part almost nobody covering it is saying clearly. The Eagles already owe Jalen Carter serious money, whether they give him a new contract or not. Back in April, months before any of this hold-in drama started, Philadelphia exercised his 5th-year option. Quick translation on that too. A 5th-year option is a built-in extra season that teams can lock in on certain rookie contracts, and once a team exercises it, the money attached becomes guaranteed. For Carter, that move alone locks in $27.1 million fully guaranteed for the 2027 season. Extension or no extension? Signed deal or no signed deal? That $27.1 million is already his. So think about what that actually means. This isn't a story about a cheap franchise trying to avoid paying a good player. The Eagles are already on the hook for 8 figures no matter what. The real fight isn't whether Jalen Carter gets paid. It's whether he gets paid the new market resetting rate right now, or whether he waits, plays out this season on the smaller number, and negotiates from a slightly different position next year. And that brings us to the shoulders. This offseason, Carter had surgery, not on one shoulder, on both of them in the same offseason. That is not a small procedure. That's 2 separate joints, the exact joints a 300-plus pound defensive tackle uses to rip through blockers on nearly every single snap, both operated on within months of each other. Multiple reports directly connect his limited reps at Minicamp to that recovery process. So here is the honest, still unresolved question sitting at the center of this entire story. Is Jalen Carter standing on that sideline because he's applying contract leverage, or because he is simply not physically ready to take on a 600-pound double team less than a year removed from double shoulder surgery? Nobody will say which one it is. Not Carter, who has not spoken publicly about any of this. Not his agent, not Howie Roseman, the Eagles' general manager, who has stayed completely silent on the record through the entire situation. And not Sirianni, who was handed the exact question that would settle this, twice in front of reporters, and chose careful, vague language over a real answer both times. When the one organization, with all the medical records and all the contract details, won't rule out either explanation, that silence starts to look like its own kind of answer. And the people who cover this team every single day can't even agree on which theory to believe. Some of the reporting treats this as exactly what it looks like on paper. A hold-in, a standard leverage play by a star, asking to get paid before he risks his body for a team that hasn't committed to him long-term. Other reporting takes Sirianni's words at face value, that different boat line, and reads this as pure injury management, nothing more than a coaching staff being careful with a player who just had 2 joints operated on. But there's a third theory in circulation, and it has nothing to do with money or medicine. Here's the factual background stated plainly because this part deserves precision, not drama. Back in September of 2025, in the Eagles' season opener against Dallas, Carter was ejected before he played a single snap for spitting in Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott's face during an injury timeout. The NFL fined him just over $57,000 and ruled that his early ejection already counted as his 1-game suspension. And there's an older chapter from before he was ever drafted. In January of 2023, hours after Georgia's national championship parade, Carter was part of a late-night street race on a road outside Athens. He was not driving the vehicle that crashed. The other car in that race, driven by a Georgia recruiting staffer, went off the road and struck several trees, killing the staffer and Carter's teammate, Devin Willick. Carter was later charged for his own part in the race itself, not for the crash, and he pled no contest to misdemeanor reckless driving and racing. He was sentenced to probation, community service, and a fine. No jail time. Multiple outlets covering this contract standoff report that both of those, the spitting ejection and the 2023 case, are part of why the Eagles are still watching and waiting, even with $27 million already guaranteed and a $100 million number sitting on the table. Not a broken contract, not a torn muscle. A question about trust, built from things the organization watched happen with their own eyes. Here's a number that makes this standoff even sharper, and it's sitting right there in Carter's own locker room. His teammate, fellow Eagles defensive tackle Jordan Davis, signed a 3-year extension worth $78 million, $26 million a year. At the moment he signed it, that made Davis one of the highest-paid interior defensive linemen in the entire league. It was a real number. It was a strong deal by every measure that existed at the time. And it is now suddenly meaningfully below where the market sits for a player at Carter's level. Think about that from Carter's seat for a second. He watches his own teammate, someone who lines up next to him on the same defensive line, cash a check that used to represent the top of the market, and knows in real time that the number has already moved past it. 4 years, 3 seasons, 1 market reset. That's how fast this changed. So picture the Eagles' side of the table right now. They are not simply negotiating with Jalen Carter. They're negotiating against a $100 million number that did not exist a few months ago. For a player who is recovering from surgery on both shoulders, who is already guaranteed $27 million, whether a new deal gets signed or not. Every incentive in that building points toward the same conclusion. Slow down, let the shoulders finish healing, see what training camp actually looks like on the field, before committing $100 million guaranteed dollars to anyone. Now picture Carter's side of the table. 2 Pro Bowls before his 26th birthday, a Super Bowl ring. A league that just told every team exactly what a healthy version of his exact position is worth on the open market. Why would he push through full contact team drills on 2 surgically repaired shoulders? For a team that hasn't put a new number in front of him yet right before the games that actually count begin? Neither side is wrong here. That's what makes this a genuine standoff, and not a simple villain story with an obvious side to root against. So ask yourself this. If you were Jalen Carter with $27 million already guaranteed to you in a market that just doubled in value overnight, would you risk 2 healing shoulders in a July practice that means absolutely nothing in the standings? 3 days. That's what's left before Eagles training camp opens on July 28th. Camp is usually where a hold-in gets forced into the open one way or another, because once real contact starts, a player either reports fully and practices like everyone else, or the quiet hold-in turns into a very public holdout, with real fines attached for every day he's away. Nobody in that building has said which way this goes. Sirianni hasn't said it. Roseman hasn't said it. Carter hasn't said a single word publicly through any of this. Watch the first practice. That's the tell, at least for 2 of the 3 explanations. If Jalen Carter lines up for full contact team drills the moment camp opens, the shoulders were probably always the real story, and the leverage question answers itself. If he's back on that sideline again, watching instead of playing, the money side of this isn't settled yet. But the third question, whether the Eagles fully trust him, isn't the kind of thing one practice fixes. That one gets answered slowly, over a season, not on a single Tuesday in July. Here's what we actually know, and only what we know. A 2-time Pro Bowler showed up to work and still didn't play. A head coach was asked why twice and answered neither time. A $100 million number landed on the table because of a contract signed 4 states away in Tennessee by a player who has nothing to do with the Eagles. And somewhere underneath all of it, an organization is still quietly weighing what it has watched this player do on and off the field before deciding what he's worth. In 3 days, Jalen Carter walks back into that building and either picks up a football for real or he doesn't. Philadelphia is about to find out which one it is.